A huge weather pattern change is coming to the United States over the next 7 days, and this will continue to bring a risk of severe weather across the central and southern plains, back through the Tennessee Valley in the southeast, and along the east coast, where damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes will all be a possibility. Additionally, we are expecting some very warm weather as we go into the middle of May. So in today's forecast, we are going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 7 to 14 days, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country today, and we've had a continuation of big severe weather events. We came off of a day yesterday where we had over 400 severe thunderstorm warnings stretching from the Ohio Valley in New York all the way back over into Texas. Basically, a severe weather outbreak took place yesterday, producing lots of damaging winds and hail. Thus far, we've had very little tornado reports. We, I think, had one or maybe two tornado reports, one of which was in Louisiana and another one back over in northern Georgia. But nonetheless, this storm system is now moving to the east, and it will continue to bring a risk for at least some severe weather today back along the east coast, with damaging winds, hail, and a couple of tornadoes being possible. And then eventually another low pressure system will make an appearance as we go into early next week, and this will be our next storm system that will bring some significant severe weather. Now let's talk more about the severe weather potential over the next few days. Beginning with today, we have a slight risk of severe weather from southern New England back into South Carolina, and a level 1 out of 5 marginal threat that goes from the Gulf Coast back up into Maine. And there's also a marginal risk even back over in Nevada, Idaho, and as well as Oregon. You don't see that very often. The main concern for today will be damaging winds in addition to large hail. Those risks are very similar here across the board. There's also now a chance for an isolated tornado or two, anywhere from southern New England, even including New Hampshire, back through Maryland, Vermont, and West Virginia. There's also a 2% tornado risk back over in the Florida Panhandle. So make sure that you have multiple ways to receive alerts, have a tornado action plan ready to go. In the off chance that we go live today, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and click the bell icon so you're notified if we go live. As we go into Sunday, our risk of severe weather will be in a fairly similar area. More severe weather expected from West Virginia and Pennsylvania, even back over into Florida, where we have a big drought ongoing in Florida, and a little marginal threat as well over New Mexico and Texas. Our main concerns for Sunday will once again be isolated damaging winds and hail, but there's also a potential for an isolated tornado back along the east coast of Florida, so make sure that you are staying weather aware. Now let's talk more about the timing for severe weather today, beginning with what's happening as we go into the early afternoon hours. We will have some scattered showers and thunderstorms that'll be producing some severe weather back over in southern New England, with damaging winds and an isolated tornado being possible. And then across the board, pop-up showers and thunderstorms will be ongoing from Pennsylvania and New Jersey back into North Carolina and South Carolina. Our wind shear, generally speaking, is not expected to be very strong today, so I do think our tornado risk is limited, but I do think our best chance for a tornado will be late this afternoon into the very early evening hours, mainly in this corridor, and I think southeast Pennsylvania might be the area that has a possible isolated tornado this afternoon. So make sure that you are staying weather aware, mainly between about 4 to about 8 o'clock this evening. By about 8, 9 o'clock, these storms are going to be weakening in general, but damaging winds should continue till about 10 to 11 o'clock across this entire area. And then eventually, as we go into the very late evening and overnight hours, this is all just turning into a lot of rain, and some rumbles of thunder overall will still be possible. And then by the time we go into Sunday morning, things are at least a little bit quieter, with maybe a few more isolated severe storms back over in Virginia and North Carolina and South Carolina, and perhaps West Virginia, but generally, again, damaging winds and hail are the main concerns. And then also in the southeast, we'll have some showers and thunderstorms today. A fairly weak line of storms will be moving, I think, across areas like Atlanta later this afternoon, back towards Pensacola, Florida. This will produce some damaging winds and hail, very low tornado risk out of that. And then eventually, as we go into Sunday, a lot of different storms are going to be firing up across the southeast, with damaging winds and hail being the primary concerns. But I definitely wouldn't rule out an isolated tornado or two, as these storms are closer to the east coast of Florida, where we could see a spin-up tornado or two. So the good news is that rain is going to be coming out of these storms to help the drought situation, but the bad news is that some severe weather will accompany these particular storms. And then as we go into Monday, we do have a risk of severe weather, mainly across West Texas and New Mexico. Beginning with Sunday, there will be a few pop-up storms, I think, back over in New Mexico, with damaging winds, hail, and maybe an isolated tornado. And then as we go into Monday afternoon and evening, we are expecting more storms to fire up, mainly in New Mexico to start, but a few of these could fire up in West Texas, where damaging winds, hail, and a couple of tornadoes will be possible out of these storms. And then eventually, as we go into the very late evening and into the overnight hours, we should see a line of storms start to form, and this should eventually push across parts of the Texas Panhandle. So make sure that you're ready for this, and we will talk more about some of the general details with our risk of severe weather Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in just a moment, but more specific details on both Monday and Tuesday will be in our next forecast. Now, beyond the next couple of days, we are expecting a very different weather pattern. So as we go into Sunday and Monday, Monday, we are expecting an omega block weather pattern, which means we are going to have a low pressure system in the southwest and a low pressure system over the Ohio Valley, and then a little ridge right in the middle. It's kind of like a blockade in a way. And so back over on the East Coast, we are going to have plenty of showers and thunderstorms throughout really the entire weekend into early next week. And then back over in the high plains and really across the central and southern plains, even though we are going to have a little ridge that's going to kind of block some of our energy from entering into the central and southern plains, we should eventually see a little bit of severe weather, mainly on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from the central and southern plains all the way back through the Dixie Alley and perhaps even into the Tennessee Valley, where the return of damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes is all going to be a possibility. Eventually, by the middle of the week, this low pressure system will kind of be on its lonesome, still a little bit of a weak ridge back over in the southeast, which should limit some of the severe weather potential on Wednesday in the southeast, but nonetheless, we should at least have some showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday, perhaps some severe weather. And then by Thursday into Friday, that low pressure system continues to sit near the Gulf Coast. This should lead to even more rain. And then by the middle of May, this could change, but for right now, it does look like it is going to be at least a little bit quiet around the early portion of the following week, so around May 12th or so. But we could see the return of these big low pressure systems that end up bringing the risk of severe weather, and these usually end up bringing outbreaks. So we need to keep an eye on that. But for right now, a lot of the severe weather over the next 7 days or so will be coming out of that low pressure system that will be slowly moving across the southern and central plains and then eventually into the southeast. Now let's go through the future radar for the next couple of weeks, beginning with what's happening today and tomorrow. We'll continue to see a low pressure system spinning back over in the northeast. This will continue to bring some showers and some thunderstorms all the way through Sunday and Monday. Our eventual other low pressure system will move into the southern and central plains, bringing a potential for some severe weather on Monday. I do think the greatest risk will mainly be in this region here, where damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes will be possible around Midland, back towards Amarillo, and also into eastern New Mexico. By Tuesday, things do get a little bit more uncertain, but I do think we'll see a continuation of severe weather as this storm system enters into the Oklahoma region, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas, and then eventually into the Dixie Alley. If we get enough moisture and enough wind shear, which I think there will be plenty of wind shear, it's going to depend on storm mode and moisture. I think damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes would all be a possibility on Tuesday. And then eventually by Wednesday, this low pressure system will still be spinning and still bring a potential for some showers and thunderstorms. On Wednesday, though, the severe weather potential should be relatively limited to areas like the Gulf Coast. And then by Thursday into Friday, things start to get a lot more uncertain by this point. I think it'll continue to stay active in the southeast. And then by the next weekend into the following week, it is looking again fairly quiet until our next big storm system that moves over the Rockies, which right now the GFS model doesn't have anything until around May 15th or 16th. So some really good news here. Hopefully we don't have any major outbreaks over the next couple of weeks. I do still think though on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we need to keep our eyes to the southern and central plains and back into the southeast for potentially some significant severe weather. And over the next 7 days, we are expecting a bunch of rainfall from the central and southern plains into the deep south and even through New England, where we are at least expecting a widespread area of 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. If you're anywhere in the red, 2 to 4 inches of rainfall is likely over the next 7 days. And then in the yellow and orange, we could see as much as 4 to 8 inches of rainfall. So flooding is definitely a possibility in the deep south as we go into this upcoming week. So definitely be prepared for the potential of flooding, especially if you are in a low-lying area. And as always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below and click the bell icon as well so you're notified if we ever do go live this weekend, which appears unlikely as of right now. I am graduating with my bachelor's in meteorology on Monday, so as of now, Monday, we are not going to be live. Tuesday is a possible live stream day, and then Wednesday is also a possible live stream day. And by that point, you can call me Meteorologist Max Velocity, all right? And again, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support, and we will see you guys all again in the next video, which should be tomorrow morning.